Welcome to this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. The types of business that occur at these meetings include public hearings, official voting on actions by the Board of Commissioners, presentations by departments of the county, and recognition of service that makes our county great. As your elected representatives, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners is committed to improving the lives of all our residents while preparing county government to meet the demands of the future. In order to do that, we need to share our thoughts and plans with you. More importantly, we need you to share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions with us. We encourage you to come and experience the process by attending any of these meetings. They occur every first and third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the St. Clair County Administration Building at 200 Grand River Avenue in Port Huron.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you like to take the roll?
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Bohm.
Here.
Commissioner Riley. Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian.
Here. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda this evening?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
At this point in the meeting, we hear citizen comments. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to address the Human Services Committee about any item, please feel free to, first there's, pardon me?
Should have here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have somebody who has already requested to address us, but if there's anybody else that wishes to address us also, they can pick up a form on the table, the media table over there, and fill it out, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Tonight, we have Doug Hunter of Turner Drive in Lynn Township. Doug, would you like to go up to the podium there?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Doug Hunter from Lynn Township. I address you this evening in your pursuit of a Commissioner for District 1. The task before you is difficult. With so many competent candidates, our country was founded in the belief of elections. May the best man or woman be elected by their peers. The voter knows best. Because of that belief, America has flourished. Due to the short term of county commissioners, 2 years, and the time and cost to have an election at this point makes an election prohibitive. I fully understand and appreciate the pressure you are under to appoint a successor to Commissioner Simasko's term. We live in an era of suspicion, a time of complete mistrust of government at every level, an age never before witnessed. Please appoint a person above reproach and a solid citizen of respect and end the distrust. I know some of the candidates for this position. You even helped them in elections prior. But now I come forward, not with malice because of political orientation or persuasion, but with faith to move this county forward with hope and trust of your leadership for the electorate. A tall order to fill. I ask that you appoint Greg McConnell to complete the term of Stephen Simasko. I've known Mr. McConnell for over 25 years. He's approachable, honest, a smart businessman, and is sincere in his desire to move us forward with complete transparency. Greg McConnell, the son of a mailman and whose mother's a nurse, is from an outstanding family, longtime residents of Western St. Clair County. A self-made man, he did it on his own. And one of the few self-made men on earth that did it by living within all the rules and laws of God and man. This humble man, now in semi-retirement, wants to share his know-how, perseverance, and dream of making this county a better place to live and work. I ask you, the leaders of this great county, to move into the future with a person of vision and faith. Appoint Mr. McConnell and help us and yourselves to get to that successful period we all long for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Is there anyone else here this evening that wishes to address the commission?
If we could, because this was actually on my agenda for Ways and Means Committee to address the District 1, but he addressed it, and if you want, I do have one that wants to address the same issue if you want to cover it under your committee instead of mine.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Mike? This is Mike Lauer, and he wishes to address us about the appointment to the commission as well. Welcome, Mike.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Mike Lowers, Muzzy Township Supervisor. I am here also to ask that you, for your support in appointing Greg McConnell to County Commissioner. I've known Greg for over 30 years, and his wife Sue. He's a very conscientious, honest, hardworking, trustworthy person. Greg has been on the KPAC State Savings Bank Board for over 15 years. He is currently the chairman of the board right now. As Doug said, he is a self-made man. He's done it all on his own, honest, fair, and over the years as township supervisor, when there was something I wanted to discuss with someone, I would often go to Greg and discuss things, and I didn't have to worry about him talking to other people about it until things were out in the public. And he's been very trustworthy as far as that goes, and I respect him very much. I think he would be a great asset to this board. He is very knowledgeable in banking, investing, and just how things work in the county, and he cares very much about our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the commission this evening, at least under Human Services? Seeing none, let's move on. And do we have any administrative updates? How about conceptual initiatives? Old business. New business. Other human service matters. While this is not a human service matter, I do represent the County Board of Commissioners on the Parks and Recreation Board Consultant Selection Committee. As you know, we've been pursuing a selection process for the Parks and Recreation Commission's various consultants, and I just want to give you an interim report on our progress. We've solicited resumes from civil engineers, architects, and landscape architects, and we're now in the process of reviewing all the resumes that we've received. And then when we complete that, we will be inviting them into 3 separate interviews to interview them. And it's our goal to recommend 3 consultants in each of those 3 fields, so that as projects come up, we'll have pre-qualified experts that we can request conceptual proposals from, and then proceed with the process to hire the consultant. Last evening, we reduced the number of firms that we're considering for the civil engineering field and discipline to 5, and I know that Mark's in the process of contacting those people that we're inviting for interviews, and also advising those that did not were not selected for the interviews, and we'll be communicating those to you as soon as that process is completed. The other next item on our agenda is...
Can I ask some questions about that?
Sure.
So it's, because I've received a handful of calls on this, and I think there's some confusion. It's 3 different people in each particular category, because when we went through this before, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, we had 1 person for each individual portion. And I think some of the firms, and I don't know, I'm assuming if it's in your RFP that it states that it's 3 per individual category.
I defer to Mark. I didn't prepare it, but I think it's been pretty clear in our meetings.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, some of these guys that called me are pretty sharp guys. I don't know where they got the confusion there, but that was always my understanding, that it was 3 in each individual. Okay, thank you.
And we've received, at least as far as the civil engineering is going, we've received many proposals, and I think this whole effort is very, very well organized. So next, for information only, we have the St. Clair County Health Department points of interest for February 2015.
Mr. Chair, I move that we receive and file the points of interest of the St. Clair County Health Department.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Could we have a motion to receive and file the packets?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move we adjourn.
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Otherwise, he's going to be pounding on the desktop. I'd like to call to order the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Judiciary Public Safety Committee. If the clerk would take the roll, please.
Commissioner Tamian?
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann?
Here.
Commissioner Bohm?
Here.
Commissioner Riley? Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Greatap?
Here. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any citizens wishing to address the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee meeting tonight? Hearing none. Updates from any commissioners? Conceptual initiatives? None. There's no old business. Under new business, we have one item, 7A, the Clemis project, something we've been working on for a long time, and it's getting much closer. Under Sheriff Tom, would you like to take the podium and fill us in? We also have Tim Conger from the Central Dispatch here also to answer any questions that may come up. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Yeah, Tim and I have been working on this project amongst many other people. As you know, you've received the memorandum that I submitted for the agenda, along with some figures that were prepared by Dean Alderdice from the county administration. Those have been updated. I apologize, but this is still somewhat fluid, and we're making changes on a regular basis to the project. Just kind of as a recap, you know, about more than 4 years ago, we let the county commissioners and the administration know that the systems we were using for both dispatch and records management in the county, the new Vision, or I'm sorry, the Vision Air product that we have, was getting old and near end of life, and we needed to start looking for something new. So we were directed to go out and look. We spent the last 4 years looking over many different products. As I noted in my memo, we looked at about 3 rows to the top, but all of them had huge price tags, some over $1 million, most of them around that mark. So we knew that that was not something that we were going to be able to afford. We took the time, and we've come up with a system that I think meets our needs. It's a very good system. I don't want to beat a dead horse because we've talked about it with most of you or all of you at some point regarding the product. But I think, given all the pros and cons of the Clemis system, I think it's going to fit the needs of the county, both dispatch, law enforcement, and the courts, so that we have a good product that we can use. We've talked about the fact that Clemis allows us to be partners with nearly all the law enforcement agencies, or over 100 law enforcement agencies in Southeast Michigan. And just kind of by way of rehashing that a little bit, it was funny, I was driving into work this morning, I was listening to the radio, and I was listening to a Port Huron police officer going back and forth for about 20 minutes with a call he was on. They gotten called to a suspicious person call. They found the man. He did not have any identification. They were going back and forth. His name changed about 4 or 5 different times. His date of birth changed a couple different times. And it took about 20 minutes. The whole time I was driving into work, I listened to this go back and forth between dispatch and the officer. And if Clemis had been in place today, I think that would have taken about 5 minutes. Number one, we would have had the fingerprint readers in place. And they could have scanned his fingerprint and probably had, within a couple minutes, his identification. If he did not have fingerprints on file, which turns out he did because he had warrants for his arrest, the information that would have been in the system because he was from Redford area, that would have been available to that officer on the street. He would have been able to punch in the little bit of information he had and come up with a list of possible suspects within a few minutes. And again, it was kind of funny that it happened today that I would be here, that I listened to this go on. I think within a couple minutes, the case he was on would have been handled and solved, and the guy would have been on the way to jail as opposed to the 20 or 25 minutes it took. Lieutenant Paulus and I have met with both county IT and administration on numerous occasions, and I think we've come up with, both from an IT perspective, most of the solutions, and I say that with kind of a smile on my face because with IT there's always something that pops up. But I've met with Carrie Hepting today, and we went over some of the final numbers, and I think we've come up with what will be a not to exceed cost, and that's what is in front of you today. We discussed, Ms. Hepting and I discussed the additional cost of the sheriff's office budget, and we've looked over a couple different things. By not filling some of the openings we have right now, specifically in the records department, I think we're going to be able to cover that cost, the changes that are going to come to the sheriff's budget. We're going to leave those unfilled and not unfunded, or we're not going to take them off the manning table right now because we're going to have to look and see how this product really helps us in the records division. I'm hoping that the fact that the deputies on the road can do most of the reports right from the car when the incident happens, that we won't need to fill those positions. And that's really what's going to, that and a couple other minor tweaks and some line items is what's going to cover the difference in the cost. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Conger.
Tim, why don't you give us your take on how it's going to work, because this is going to do 2 different things. One will be a records management system, and the other is going to be a dispatch system. So let's see what Tim has to say, and then we'll take questions from the board.
What you're going to see with the Clemis CAD system is an increase in some efficiencies that are out there. On the officer safety front, we'll have more capabilities for alerts at locations, but just not at a specific location. If there's a hazardous material hazard nearby, it'll have a radius, so we'll be able to know that somewhere in this area of this location, there's a danger there for first responders. It will have other efficiencies such as a mapping system, something that we have not had with this current system for quite a few years. That will allow us to find a 911 caller quicker because his phone call will pop up on the map and show us where they're calling from, even with cellular phone calls. So right now the dispatcher has to take the coordinates, open up Google Maps, put them in, and find it on the internet as to where they're calling from if they're on a wireless phone. So some efficiencies will be there. We'll be able to get the first responders rolling a little bit quicker because of these things. So, and there's some officer safety things, but it's easier to show you it when we get it running than for me to sit here and run through all the list of items that you'll be able to do with this compared to what you have now.
Gentlemen, questions for either the undersheriff or for, start down at the end, Commissioner Tamian.
Tim, in the report, there's an acronym AVL.
Automatic vehicle locators, yes, sir.
That's what I assumed that it was. Will it be able, will all the cars have transponders in them, and you'll be able to tell it specifically where they're at?
The police cars, sir,
Yes.
will have the AVLs. I've been assured that they're going to have those in their cars, and they will tell us where they're at, and we will actually be able to follow their day. If we need to, we can go back and see where they've moved throughout the day if we need to do it. It's just a neat little investigative feature if we have to. But yes, as soon as they sign into their mobile data terminal, we'll know that they're on duty, and we will be able to see where they're moving to, and it updates every 15 seconds.
I heard about that technology a while ago, and I'm really glad to hear that we're going to have that available. And I thought the undersheriff's comment about the ability to read fingerprints, at the car. I see that there's a module that deals with mug shots. What is that?
Clemis offers a module that will, when we take the mugshots in the jail, it will automatically import a lot of information. It's an additional cost, and since Clemis uses the same company that we're using now, we didn't really feel it was that important to purchase right now. So we're just going to maintain what we have now. Clemis is going to allow us to import the data from our mugshot system into Clemis. So we won't really see any changes. We just won't be paying for that additional module that we already have right now. So.
Do the officers, when Clemis is fully implemented, will they have the ability to look at mugshots in their cars?
Yes, they will. Both through Clemis, the Clemis system and the state system. And the Clemis system will include anybody that's been arrested in Southeast Michigan who's the arresting department is a member of Clemis.
Thank you.
Commissioner Heidemann.
I've already talked about this, but I like the idea that the officer at the site can plug the information in. He doesn't have to go back to the office and sit down and do it again. It's taken care of immediately. He can stay on the job and stay out in the field, providing the safety that our citizens need.
We're constantly behind. I hate to admit it in public, but we're constantly behind with our reports. And it's just a matter of more reports than we have typists available to type them out. We're probably a few days behind right now, but in the summertime when we're very busy, we get a few weeks behind. And that's unfortunate because that means the citizen that needs that report has to wait for it. The officer that's doing the investigation doesn't have the report in front of him. He's got to go off of notes or talk to another officer. Unfortunately, a lot of the reports that are sitting and waiting and kind of clogging up the system are short reports, 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Those reports can be done in the car by the officer. They won't clog up the system. The typist won't have to sit and type those. They can type the ones that are longer, really important complaints that need to be done right away. And I'm hoping, and I really firmly believe that once this is in place and those officers are doing their short reports right in the car, that we won't be behind anymore.
Excellent.
Any other questions? Commissioner Rushing.
I got a statement. We've talked about this quite a bit. Bill got this thing going, of course, with the Sheriff Department and with other police agencies. But like you said, this is going to allow expedited reports. It's also going to improve the safety, which Tim brought up, which is going to allow us to provide a better service as far as public safety within the county. But the only question I got for you is in the cost, and it's already, we've worked this out. I've talked with Kerry on this, so I don't need to go to specifics. But is your cost included with the townships, charter townships that have contracted with the sheriff? Are they going to help cover some of this cost? Is that included in their current contracts?
It's not included in their current contracts.
Will it be included in the future contracts?
That's something we can certainly discuss with them.
That's all, the only question I had.
Right now, there's no charge for administrative things like that and records.
Are there any other questions on this particular?
I guess I have a follow-up question. Will the technology for the dedicated cars be different than the cars at large?
No.
So,
No, each car operated by the sheriff's office is going to have the exact same technology in it, whether they're in Fort Gratiot Township or on General Patrol in Casco.
and the city of Port Huron's cars will have the same capability?
They'll have the same too. Yeah, actually, every police agency in the county, with the exception of Clay Township, that already has their own system in place right now, and they can't move away from it. And Memphis, who's going to stay on the Macomb County system, will have Clemmis. So every police agency, other than those two, will be sharing information.
That's great. That kind of cooperation is wonderful, and I think that really improves public safety for our entire county.
Any other questions for these gentlemen on this particular matter? 'Cause we have one more, we're gonna hold you right there for something else. Commissioner Bohm.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Tim Conger and Bill, to just a little update on the county 911 plan. We know we had that on the list of our to-dos for the up-and-coming priorities. We had talked before about, the plan was last updated in April 2009. If you look through it, even it just needs, a couple things need to be cleaned up. There's just, even the dollar amounts on how much we receive aren't proper. That, back in '09 they were there. And the other piece of it is to the recognized PSAPs. I think collectively, we had talked before as a group as far as updating the plan to just include St. Clair County Dispatch as the main PSAP in that agreement. I know we currently have an agreement with Clay that lasts for a period of time. So you just want to give a little bit, I guess, where we're at in that. Bill, you can kind of chime in.
Sure. We began working on an update of the 911 plan, which has probably been about a year ago. Went back and forth on a couple of drafts with Mr. Conger on some new formats, as well as addressing some of the issues that you mentioned, others that Tim has brought up, and things that are common to groups like that. Right now, it is sitting in a holding pattern, awaiting the completion of some other projects that we're involved with. The lion's share, I would say, of the work has been completed on it. It will certainly take some, let's say, buffing up to complete it and finish it and get it off to you. And that's something that we hope to have done by sometime early this summer. How we move forward with Clemmis and some of the organizational issues that will have to take place within the county and this organization related to Clemmis and the cooperative nature of that may have an impact on the 911 plan, may not, but that's certainly something that we'll have to be taking a close look at.
Well, just as part of the 911 plan, we had talked before, and I just want the commissioners to realize the plan that the rewrites that they are doing on this plan, the funding mechanisms, for example, if Marysville wants to go out and start their own dispatch, the funding mechanism in that plan is not going to fund Marysville's dispatch. Marysville can start their own dispatch if they want, but the funding is going to stay with the county to continue to maintain our dispatch services along with the bond repayments and that, so. Okay.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
How about a motion to send it on to the full board?
Also move.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a support to send it on to send the Clemmis project to the full board. Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other judiciary and public safety matters to come before this committee tonight? No information only, and I'm ready for
I
receive
would
and file.
move that we receive and file packet information regarding judicial and public safety.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Need an
Move we
adjournment,
adjourn.
gentlemen.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to call the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Environmental and Public Works Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Commissioner Tamian?
Here.
Commissioner Bone?
Here.
Commissioner Riley? Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Greatop?
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann?
Here. At this time, are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, any updates from commissioners? Seeing none, any conceptual initiatives from administration? None? No old business. Moving on to new business. I see Mark here, and we do have a submission of a Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant.
Good evening. In your packet, you should have in front of you a memo that outlines 2 grant applications we'll be asking for your permission to submit. Both projects you've been involved with facilitating over the last 6 months by virtue of the fact that we're soliciting third parties to acquire and control the property and hold it until we apply for the grant. The 2 properties that we'd like to submit applications for is the Way property, which is located immediately west of Goodos County Park. It's 38.79 acres. We are proposing a grant request of $195,000. Now that includes the purchase price and all the due diligence and all the acquisition costs. For that total, we are proposing requesting $144,300, which is 74% of the project cost, and matching it with $50,700, which is 26%. Right now, we're working with Six Rivers Land Conservancy to acquire the property and hold it on our behalf. The second property that we would like your approval to apply for is the McLaren property that is currently owned by the Blue Water Land Fund of the Community Foundation. That property is located immediately west of Columbus County Park. It's just under 26 acres. The proposed grant project would be $94,000, with asking the trust fund for $69,500, or 74% of the acquisition cost. We will be holding the required public hearing next Wednesday, March 11th at the Parks and Rec Commission meeting at 6 o'clock, and solicit public feedback and input. I have reached out to both Wales Township and Columbus Township and invited them to ask any questions, and told them I was willing to attend the meeting, and Columbus Township has invited me to come to their meeting next Tuesday night to answer any questions. So it's a pretty tried and true program that we've been very fortunate to be successful with, and be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Mr. Graytop.
Mark, on the Columbus Park property, will the owners sit on that until such time as the grant comes through?
Well, the Blue Water Land Fund acquired it for the sole purpose of holding it for us.
Right, and they have it.
They own it.
The other one?
The Six Rivers Land Conservancy is in the final stages of acquiring the Way property for the same purpose.
I'm clear on it, thank you.
Commissioner Rushing.
Just one, you're going to have the public hearing on the 11th. You're going to Columbus Township meeting on the 10th at
Correct.
7:30 p.m.?
Yes.
Any other
I plan
questions?
to be there also.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Well, both of these are great opportunity for our citizens and the community and Park and Rec, and so.
Make
If I
a
could-
motion that we send it on to the full board.
Okay.
Just a question. Do you
Sure.
want a motion to support both of them in the same motion, or you need them separate?
That's correct.
No, together.
Together?
Together.
I'll support that.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Just for
Okay.
clarification, at your full board meeting, we'll have 2 separate resolutions for you to adopt for each property.
Okay, the next is the fiber optics line for the Goodles. Long overdue, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
Again, in your packet, you have my memo. We have as a county agency, depend greatly on electronic everything for doing business with the county. It's very efficient and effective. However, our current provider, Frontier, the service and their bandwidth that they're providing for us has been very problematic, to the point where if we do a voice over internet phone call, internal phone call, we can't use the computer. It's gotten so bad. Unfortunately, Frontier has signed up a lot of customers on the same line that we're on, and so our bandwidth available for our needs is diminished. So in talking to the IT department about what options that we would have, the preferred option was to tie into the RISA fiber optic network and be through dealing with a phone company and go directly to the RISA network. Interestingly, the Lapeer County Intermediate School District handles their installations for them. So in your packet, you have a estimate from Lapeer County Intermediate School District of just over $11,000. The IT department suggested asking for additional money because there's always unforeseen things in the field. So our request for you is approval for a not to exceed $14,000 to actually do the physical connection from the RISA line that services the Pine River Nature Center to our operations center at Goodos County Park. One thing that the IT department, and we've talked about in the past, was trying to provide some Wi-Fi opportunities for park users, and under the current format, there's absolutely no way we can do that. So that will give us, if we go this route, give us the opportunity to make that decision, knowing that we have the pipeline big enough to be able to offer that service.
Okay, Commissioner Graytop.
Mark, one of the things I noticed in the bid package here was a savings of about $570 if you were to do some of that labor on your own. Do you anticipate doing that, or are you going to have this all done?
No, we will talk specifically about what their specifications and their preferences to do that work ourselves.
And you will do that part yourself?
We do have a backhoe and do a lot of installation of conduits for projects like this.
Okay, so the 11,181 will come down by $570, roughly
Yes.
speaking. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rushing.
Is this going to tie into the fiber optics along the railroad tracks?
I don't know, it's tying into the RISA system.
Inside joke.
Yeah,
Commissioner Tomlin, you have a question?
I was going to make a motion.
Oh, I will entertain the motion.
I move that the Goodos County Park fiber optic line installation project be moved as an item for our consideration at our next board meeting.
Not to exceed?
$14,000.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Made and support. Any other discussion? Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
We have the Smiths Creek landfill activities report. I didn't see one.
I didn't have
Did I
one.
miss one?
There wasn't one submitted.
Oh, okay. That explains that. Any other environmental or public works matters? Seeing none. Information only. The Park and Rec financial documents. I would entertain a motion that the information on Park and Rec financial documents be received and filed.
So move.
And supported.
And supported by Commissioner Graytop. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. I would entertain a motion that we receive and file packets pertaining to environmental public works matters.
Motion.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Graytop, supported by Commissioner Rushing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Support.
All in favor say aye.
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 We're done.
This time, I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Tamian?
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann?
Here.
Commissioner Bohm?
Here.
Commissioner Riley? Commissioner Graytop?
Here.
Commissioner Rushing?
Here. If you had a chance to review the agenda, can I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I would so move.
And support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. This time, do we have any citizens wishing to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move up to updates. Do we have any updates? Seeing none, conceptual initiatives. We have none, we'll move to old business. We have none, we're going to move to new business. District 1 Commissioner vacancy. As you know, everybody has received the packets with the resumes and applications. We have received 8 of them, and if we could, our Chair, Jeff Bohm, if you give us a rundown.
Yeah, this is what my intent here is. I'm going to call a special meeting on Thursday at 6 p.m. Going to be here. I would like to invite, and I've been talking to some of the commissioners about this, and actually Howard came up with this, and I like this. Bring everybody in next Thursday, the ones that are able to make it, and give them, 5 minutes or so to introduce yourself, what's your vision for the county board, kind of thing. That night, then we will narrow the list down to 4 candidates. I think it's probably a pretty good number, guys, 3 or 4. I guess we can determine that night. I would say 4. Then we would have a meeting have interviews before our full board meeting on December 19th, because we are not going to have much on that particular agenda, so bring the candidates in.
December?
March 19th, I don't know what I'm
March
looking at here, I'm
19th.
sorry, March 19th. And I talked to Carl a little bit about some process there, and I'll share more information with you at that time. Carl's been through this fairly, Carl's got a lot of experience in doing this, so. 6 o'clock. And then come back on Friday, hopefully the 20th in the morning, and make our decision. We'll determine, we'll see how it plays out on the 12th. And then we'll make the call on whether we want to do that meeting on the 20th or just make that choice on the 19th. Mr. Riley is going to be back on the 18th. That's why I don't want to do anything before that. I told Tom he wanted to be part of the, obviously, decision-making process. So next week, 6 p.m. here, invite all the candidates in for the, 5 minutes, who you are, tell us
On the
about yourself,
12th?
kind of stuff. On the 12th, correct.
Chairman
Carl?
Baum, on Friday the 20th, what time in the morning are you thinking this special meeting to take place?
11 o'clock kind of stuff, if that would work for most people's calendar. Like I said, we can check that, tentatively put that in there. If we've got to make some changes or tweak that, that's just, kind of where I'm at right now on that.
Sounds like a good plan.
I mean, we went through it when, Howard, you and I went through
Yeah.
it when Commissioner Kearns passed, and it certain pieces of it worked pretty well, other pieces, okay, just trying to put the best, best process in place that we can that works, essentially for everybody, and everybody gets their fair billing, so.
Not exactly a set of guidelines for how to do this.
No, there's not a how-to manual. So,
I like this approach versus what we did last time.
yeah.
Well, of course, we were following state statute, how we're going to do this, and that's why we set up this schedule. And if this schedule doesn't go forward and we do not appoint, then we'll have to have a special election, which Mr. Hunter did make reference to and we've talked about previous. We would like to avoid it, and I think this board, through the 8th, we will come up with an applicant. So if I could, I believe I need a motion to accept the following schedule: a special meeting to be held on 6 p.m. on 3/12 for the first initial interview, another additional meeting 6 p.m. on 3/19/15, but that's also our full board, correct?
Correct.
And interviews will be done there also at our full board meeting. That would be interview 2. And then an 11 a.m. meeting on 3/20/15 for a possible appointment. I have a motion for that.
I would so move.
Support.
Any discussion?
I have a question. When Jeff was describing this, I thought the first meeting, we weren't really going to interview them. We were just going to have them make presentations to us?
Correct.
Okay,
No interviews.
okay.
Which then on the 19th, I told Carl to work on a set of questions And we'll talk a little bit more about that process on the 12th, how we want to, handle that.
I'll work on that. I want to say that I know this isn't exactly how the commission handled this before, but since we have a limited number of candidates, I think it's a really good idea, Howard, to bring everybody in and
Absolutely.
give them 5 minutes instead of us making some sort of decision limiting the field without even meeting these people who've gone to the effort of filing
absolutely.
an application.
I think
we-
the
I
last
think
time we had
17.
17 applicants.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Okay, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. We'll move on to 7B. Board of Commissioners meeting schedule revisions. Is that just what you covered, or you have?
Yeah, you just did it.
All right. And 7B has been covered. That's going on to the full board, or we already approved that tonight. So now we'll move on to other ways and means matters. Do we have anything else? Moving on to 9, information only. Can I have a motion to accept?
I would make a motion that we receive and file 9A, the Strategic Communication Solutions Report, and 9B, the MAC 7th District meeting of 3/16/15.
Support. Second. Any discussion?
I would like to just mention on the strategic communication solution, I think we need to get them involved again in dealing with EPA and our RFDDP. And I know that it's been several years that Bill Graytop and I went down to Washington to lobby for a changing from a research, design, develop plan, permit, to a regular landfill process. And so, and they told us at the time it would probably be 2 to 3 years before they would get around to it. Well, those 2 to 3 years have expired. So, and I talked to James Jackson from Senator Peters' office, and shortly thereafter I got a call from Matt Williams from Senator Stabenow's office, and I'm confident that we can get help from Representative Miller's office should we decide to go down and visit with EPA and see if we can get them to move on this. Because we're operating on a, every 2-year permit? And I think we need something more permanent. And I also think
There is a
that,
sunset out there. We do have to do something.
we've got to do something. And if we have to be banging on their doors again, I think that's something we need to do.
All right.
I'm just giving a view on it.
Well, you brought that up. I met with Don Brown and was also at the Riley Township board meeting on Tuesday night. And he gave a presentation for Candace Miller's office in regards to funding and potentially for the Asian carp, and also the what happened in Lake Erie with the toxic waste that was kind of taking over that. They did have an incident in Lake Michigan also, and it didn't look good for the funding, but what I recommended to him was that in St. Clair County, starting in Lake Huron, I believe 13 of our water testing units is now down to 6. I'm not sure if that is the correct number, but I believe Detroit and Macomb County have opted out of testing the water as it comes down. And potentially they're going to recommend, or he's going to suggest to Candace Miller, maybe they can get it on some other funding with the Asian carp and the Great Lakes to maybe come up with some federal funding to help cover our water testing in St. Clair River, in addition to covering for what might happen in Sarnia. They got that new tank facility that they're putting in, I guess. So Candace Miller's office is going to apparently look at that. Okay. Do we have anything else as far as information only?
Make a motion to receive and file.
Well, I don't believe I got all in favor? We have
Aye.
a discussion. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay, now moving on to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Have a second?
I'd so move. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn?
Support. Support. Stand. All in favor?
Aye.
Stand adjourned.
hope you enjoyed this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. Your St. Clair County Commissioners broadcast these meetings on Comcast Local Access Channel 12 every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. If you have any questions on any part of this program, please feel free to contact your St. Clair County Board of Commissioners or staff. You can find their contact information, the meeting agenda, and videos of the meetings at www.stclaircounty.org.